We have such a wonderful start to these shows. Are we live?
Now we're live. I don't know what's going on.
And we're live. Well, welcome. If you're joining us, I don't know where the counter is. Sometimes we have a counter that shows up.
It is.
Welcome to the show. CJ and Jasmine, as you might know, live in Reno. They're not on fire tonight, so we're very blessed that they are here. They're not burning down. Their house is safe. Their family's safe. And we felt it was still really important to be here and serve you guys. See people coming in. We got 15 people in here. Awesome. As you come in, if you're new to the show, the gentleman on that side of me, his name is CJ. CJ is the founder and owner with his wife Jasmine of WNN Real Estate. If you're lucky, maybe we'll tell you what WNN stands for. We're going to be talking about remote investing tonight. If you're new to the show, if you're new to our world at WNN, we focus on helping people that live in expensive areas invest in the Midwest, where houses are a lot more reasonable, 100 to 150,000. We help you build the team to do that. We help you find properties. Tonight, we're going to be talking about one of the biggest things. I actually had this conversation yesterday, CJ. Somebody was like, I don't know. Do I have to jump on a plane and go look at the property? And I said, no. You absolutely do not have to. I haven't looked at a property in person in probably 20 years. And they said, well, but how do I know that it's a real thing? How do I know I'm not going to lose money? And I walked them through that, and they said, well, okay, how do I know? Like, I might see something that's wrong with the property. So we walked through what that looks like. We're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about sourcing properties probably a little bit too, because that's one of the questions that we get a lot. See people coming in. If you put in the chat where you're from, I see Ron Evans joining us from Kansas City. Hello, Ron. Anyone else want to tell us where they're from? You'll get a shout out online to hang out with us. CJ, is the sky all red around you guys? Is it?
Not right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. Is there ash falling? Does it look like the apocalypse? Anything dramatic?
No. We've been very lucky and blessed to be sheltered. We're on the edge of the evacuation zone.
Man. Well, we'll keep you in our thoughts and prayers. I see Deborah says she's joining from Colorado Springs. Deborah, I'm also in Colorado. I live up in Steamboat Springs, a different Springs. Good to see you here. Ron says you see CJ and Steve, but everything else is frozen. I don't know what else there is. I don't know. We should do a live with like you with the water park in the background or something. I don't know. Legoland. Well, let's go ahead. We can jump into this. So the topic tonight is all about properties that you find remote investing. How do you know they're real? How do you check them out? How do you buy them safely? We should talk about sourcing just a little bit. So let's start at the beginning. Like normally, if a normal person thinks of an investment property, let's say they're in Hawaii and they're thinking about getting an investment property, they would go to a realtor, they look on Zillow, they'd find a property, they probably wouldn't run numbers, they'd probably go look at it. What we do is different. Can you take us through like what would be the flow map of how we would go about finding a property?
You kind of laid out the initial steps, and I'd say the thing before having an agent is to know what you're looking to buy. And that starts with the right strategy. So when you know your strategy, the market reveals itself. And in this case, we're buy and hold for cash flow for rental income. And that automatically eliminates things like Hawaii, where it's very unlikely you're going to be positive cash flow. So that goes out the window, and it challenges you to go find market somewhere else. But when you get to that market, you still have to identify what your target goal is. Is it a certain amount of cash flow a month? Is it a type of property, a type of class, a type of neighborhood? Like there's all these different variables that you get to take into consideration while creating that buy box. And what are you capable of financing or affording? Majority of the people are going to be buying through traditional financing. So you're going to need 20 to 25% down, typically 25 for an investor mortgage. That's your starting point. So if I have 25,000 to put down for a rental property, I'm probably capped at about 100 grand for a rental property. That instantly filters through majority of what's in that market. And now you're just looking at things that are 100 or less because that's what you qualify to buy for. When you do that, now you enroll your agent. And your agent becomes that vehicle of deal flow in the simplest form. I never request or require or suggest new investors to go crazy off market off the bat, simply because a lot of things can go wrong off market. And if you don't know what you're doing, you can easily be taken advantage of. Majority of the horror stories we hear are from too good to be true deals that were off market that were never really real in the first place, which is why topics like this become so interesting for people. Like, how do you do this from afar? Well, start on market, because those are real properties. It gets to be, or they can't list it.
But CJ, there are no deals to be had in the market. If I go through a realtor, all the good deals are gone.
That's very interesting to hear that perspective. The thing that I always reference back to is what you focus on is what you get. So if you're going to focus on no deals, you're not going to see any deals. The challenge is shifting to what is a good deal, or how can I create the deal? See, I very rarely find great deals. I find deals, and then I create them through the process that allows you to go through your due diligence and renegotiation and fact checking, verifying information, and ensuring your numbers are right, all while in that protected process when you're on an on-market transaction.
But aren't all the good deals off market? I mean, I've heard that like you can save $50,000. You're going to save the 6% in realtor fees. I mean, when you're talking about $100,000 house, that's $6,000. Like, you sure I don't want to be off market?
You have the skill set for that? And are you going to buy into the hype around what is supposedly a great deal? Do you know what a great deal looks like? Most people can't answer that question when they first start. I know I couldn't. I didn't know what a great deal was. I knew I had this much money I could put down to buy a rental property. And based on that simple concept, calculating my fixed expenses, I was positive a few $100s a month. That to me at the moment seemed like a good, if not great deal. Fast forward, I don't know, 500, 600, 700 transactions later, that's an okay deal.
But it was enough to get you started. So let's go through what makes a good deal. So you laid out, I love that you went through the down money and figuring out what your budget is. Right then, like when you go talk to the real estate agent, their job is to sell you something. Your job is to buy something, but your job is also to help them sell you the right thing, not waste your time. So how do you have that conversation with the real estate agent? Let's start there, because I think a lot of people are intimidated by that. Then the real estate agent says, well, maybe you should buy this property. Maybe you should spend a little bit more. Maybe you should do something else. How do you keep the real estate agent where you need them to be?
Oh, geez. That's a loaded question, because it really depends on you and your support system. If you don't have the experience and knowledge or support, it's very easy for you to be bulldozed or railroaded over to do a deal simply because a licensed professional is suggesting to you, which is borderline unethical in my opinion, for them to steer you toward the property. Their job is to represent you in what you want, not feed you per se deals and encourage you to do something just because they think it works for you. Right. So if you don't have support, you don't have experience, you don't have guidance or mentorship, you really will be lost in the sauce on your initial transaction. That was me on my first one. I really blindly trusted an agent because it was a referral. That was the extent of my relationship, was somebody referred me to this agent. And I was just like, all right, whatever you say, I'm going to do. I got lucky. Ideally, you want to have support system where you can hear different perspectives that don't have vested interest in you doing or not doing the deal. See, agents get paid off commission, and that's their livelihood. And there is nothing wrong with them encouraging you to do the deal, because oftentimes in the beginning, you're going to find ways to not do a deal. So yes, they have their role in encouraging you, but you also have other parts, other team members, other support cast that can scrub your numbers and be your sounding board to ensure that you're looking at the right thing. So what you really have to do in the beginning, whether with support or not, is learn how to interview an agent that best fits you. That's it.
That is a great starting point. So I want to talk about two things that you said. The first one is sometimes not getting a deal is the best thing. Like when you start running, I know I've seen this a lot of times. People will start playing with numbers and they're like, well, I really love this house. So they'll fudge the numbers a little bit. Well, maybe I can make $100 less a month in cash flow. Maybe I can find a property manager at 8% instead of 10%. Maybe I don't need to put as much holdback for vacancy. And I call it shoehorning themselves into the deal. They make the deal kind of work, and then they get into it and they make no money, or they're upside down. And it doesn't matter how beautiful that bathroom was or how nicely painted it was. It's not a good deal. It's sometimes much better to have the deal fall apart. If you pressure test a deal every which way and it passes and you buy it, that's going to be a good deal. Mm-hmm. That's a much better frame to go into this with. It's not about finding your first property right away as fast as possible. It's about finding the right property that fits. And this goes back to the mindset you were talking about, CJ. If you have the mindset that there are great deals out there and that you can find great deals and you can creatively build a great deal, you will find creative deals all day long. So let's keep going. When you interview a real estate agent, this is one of the things that I talk about a lot when I'm walking people through what we do. You're interviewing somebody 2,500 miles away. If you open up the website, right, for whatever real estate place, or you Google best realtor in insert town, you're going to get the top realtors. That doesn't necessarily mean that's the realtor that you want to deal with, correct?
No, correct. And they may not want to deal with you as a newbie. And you got to be okay with that. In the beginning, you get to hustle and earn the credibility and right to be in front of those who perform on a consistent basis, because usually consistent agents have consistent clients. You got to show them why you can fit in that mix. And agents are somewhat self-employed at some level, meaning they can only operate so many transactions before they can't operate anymore. I have agents that I interview and they'll tell me I can do as many deals as I can do, which is more of a sales pitch. They just want my business. Versus an agent that I would respect would respond something like, about 5 to 6 transactions in, I'm almost near max. And I'll let you know that I'm in 5 to 6 transactions. So we may have to pause our relationship until these close and open up more capacity for me to perform at a high level of excellence. I don't want to just be a cog that's being moved because they're trying to churn as many deals as possible. I want you to represent me because through the transaction, there's a lot of interaction with my team member like an agent, which is the person who first verifies this property is legit. It's real. It's there. So if you're concerned on how do I do this and believe it's real, your agent is your first touch to that, first team member.
So, I mean, interviewing an agent, starting to talk to them, what do you say when you're 2,500 miles away? Aren't you, because I hear people say things like, well, aren't they going to try to rip me off? They're going to sell me the properties that nobody else wants, blah, 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 blah. I've heard a lot of different things. How do you make sure that you're, what are some of the questions that you would ask, and how do you know that they're going to treat you well?
Cool. So what are the questions you ask? We have a whole Rolodex of questions in our community that we give out to our students to give them starting points. These are questions that I've used, that Jazz has used, any of our advisors use, things that come up often that you're going to want to start with. And naturally, you want to be engaged in the conversation and curious around their responses. Not all agents are going to respond the same way. Some are going to go off of a script. Some are just going to free flow it, and there's going to be some combination of two. But I want to see patterns in who I'm talking to and whether or not that's sitting well with me. And that's a skill set that takes time. I was just talking about this on our, one of our weekly calls in our community today around agents are people you're going to want to speed date. You want to get as much information in the shortest amount of time and then go off and do a result with them. Because the thing is people can interview well, but underperform. People can poorly interview and overperform because you're like, where'd you come from? And there's a mixture of it. But I want to have good conversations with agents as an investor. That's one of my first questions I ask. Do you work with investors, and more specifically out of state? Because I'm not there. I'm not able to meet you at Starbucks to have a sit down, run through your MLS listings, look at comparable market analysis sheets you've printed out. I need to know you know how to communicate in different time zones and in different states. And if you don't work with investors who are out of state, They need to almost sell me on the concept that they'd be willing to learn and a student to work with somebody who's out of state. I want to know if they're an investor agent style first, because if they're not and they're retail, they're going to look at deals a lot different than I do. Retail buyers, more emotional. Investors, more calculated, logical.
Absolutely.
If they don't know how to separate the two and they don't have experience with the two, they may try to force me into, well, this is a cute, cozy property on the corner street, right by this beautiful lake, and da da da. Like, none of that matters to me. What's the performance? What's the rent? What's the condition? Is it safe? Well, I don't need high-end finishes. I need durable finishes that are usable on the nicer side. That's it.
I mean, what CJ just said right there. I know when I first started dealing with real estate agents, some of them would want to dress every property up, tell me how amazing it was. I remember one person took me somewhere and they had left, I think it was either cinnamon rolls or cookies in the oven so that it smelled good. And I was like, this is like, sure, I'll have a cookie, but that's not what I'm looking for. And they just when you find the right agent, the thing is, they're not going to be emotional. They might not be touchy-feely. They might not give you the warmest welcome when you talk to them on the phone. Hey, what do you want? What are you looking for?
Yeah.
That actually tells you they might be what you're looking for in an agent, because they're going to be much more logistics-based. They're going to be spreadsheet-oriented, and they're going to give you the numbers. Okay, yeah. So we found a good agent. We're looking at some properties. The question still comes up. How do I know that it's a good property? How do I know that my agent's not lying to me about the neighborhood? Or maybe not lying. Maybe that's too strong of a word. Maybe he's dressing it up and he's using sales language to get me to buy it. How do I know it's in a good neighborhood? How do I know it's not a war zone? How do I know the comps are correct?
See, but that's what's so interesting is the information and questions that most are asking on the newer side are so readily available online. But even then, you have to take everything with a grain of salt. Which perspective is being put out in front of you? You can have your agent say, this is an amazing neighborhood. You can go to your property manager who's going to rent it saying, I'm not going to touch this. Then you're going to go to your contractor who's saying, oh, yeah, I've done a few projects here and it's an okay area. And then you'll go to your inspector who's going to be like, property looked fine. What are you going to digest to then create? So I think what is more concerning that is often missed is, does this fit the strategy I'm looking to invest in? Remember, logical, calculated. First off, it has to math. And if it doesn't math, how do I make it math? And if I can't make it math, move on. Because regardless of good, bad, okay area, if it doesn't work for your strategy, why are you buying it? We're an investor. We're looking to buy assets that make sense for our strategy. In our case, it has to cash flow. So if the area is a little rougher, maybe I have to project more evictions. Maybe I have to project higher turnover. Maybe I have to project for potential vandalism, like things that happen in rougher areas. Nicer areas, I may not cash flow. It's a pretty house, good appreciation value, but it doesn't make sense for the strategy. So why am I buying in that area? Find the sweet spot is always my recommendation. And that's always going to be around what you can afford to buy initially. Let's get that first deal is always our motto. Focus on that first deal, create a result. From there, you'll understand what worked, what didn't, and what we can do next to keep scaling.
Perfect. I love that. So you talked about sending some people to the house. Real estate agent's the first one because they're going to show you the property. Then you're going to send a contractor, a home inspector, and your property manager. I like sending the property manager, or at least having them do a drive-by on it, because they're going to be able to tell you what average rent is. They're going to be able to tell you a lot about the neighborhood. What else? Like, we can get into property managers. I know we've talked about that before. You've got a home inspection report. That's going to tell you 90% of the things that you need to know about the house. Mm-hmm. This is what I always tell people. If you get a home inspection report, you know that the house is real. And you're going to know a lot of things about the house, right? Mm-hmm. That kind of lets you know. People still tend to say, well, I want to go look at the house. Like, I want to be able to walk into it because I'm going to get a different feeling, or I'm going to know something. What do you say to people that say that they still need to see the house, CJ?
What is your time worth?
You guys didn't see any of your properties for the first several years, correct?
3.5 years, and even then we didn't go to a property. We went to our market to grow our network. That's it. I mean, it's just, it doesn't make sense for me to infuse cash to go to a property I might or might not buy to feel good about something when I can fully leverage and trust a proven process, which in my time was just simply trusting a referral. Since then, hundreds, if almost not thousands of transactions later, the process is proven where that doesn't even cross my mind that I need to be there. And a lot of our students get to go past that simply by buying into the concept and the processes we have established with the right teamwork and network or ways to build your own team. So you have the confidence to ensure that you're buying something that's real. I mean, it comes with the confidence. And if you don't have it in the beginning, find those who do have confidence that are doing it. Lean on that. That's why going alone is really hard. It's not impossible. We're living, breathing proof. And we see people do way faster results by following the proven process and not have to learn the hard lessons that we did initially.
So I'm going to come back to some of the hard lessons. If you're listening to this and you're like, well, we'd love to find a group, we'd love to find some help with this, there's a QR code right up above me right there. Jasmine will put the link in as well. You can click that link. It'll get you on a 30-minute call with me. I'm happy to talk to you about what we do at WNN. We help people like you all the time. We have a great community. And I mean, our whole reason in being here is to help you guys find financial freedom through real estate by buying these properties and building a portfolio of houses that are 100 to 150 grand. So we walked through the process of finding a realtor, starting to find a property, going through looking at a property. People need, like, I pretty much when I walk people through on a sales call and I'm going through like, hey, this is what it looks like. Most people say, okay, I could probably be okay with buying a house there, but how do I manage it? How do I find tenants? What's that going to look like? So I think the next step in this process is probably property management.
Yeah. So you have your agent, then inspection done, and then you bring in your property manager, partially for what you mentioned too, right? Comps, verification of what it can rent for, so you can scrub your calculation and numbers and make sure it fits your strategy. And they're also going to be the resource and tool that handles all of that headache of managing an asset. They're a very valuable team member who I truly believe is often underutilized and underpaid. And they're very critical in your success by having the right PM, property manager, in that seat. And you're going to want to interview them just like you would interview a real estate agent. Do you work with out-of-state investors or do you work with local investors? How many properties do you manage? When do you become overwhelmed or when are you going to shut it down? What's your projection on scalability? Are you somebody who uses tech or are you old school? Like, all of these things matter in your interview process to make sure that they're a good fit for you. Do you manage in the area I'm looking to buy? It's a big one. Because oftentimes I may find a property and the property manager is like, nope, not for me.
So you just covered a lot. One of the biggest things that I always look for is, are they a real estate agent or are they a property manager? That's like, I got burned in the beginning. I took on people that real estate agents are great at sales. You got to love them. But they would say, oh yeah, we do property management. We'll take great care of you. Let's walk through the interview process a little bit. You covered a lot of things very, very quickly. I think one of the first questions I ask is around, how do you handle a vacancy? Because that's going to tell you a lot about their professionalism. When you said you go through, like, how many properties do they manage? Let's talk about that one for a second, because I think a lot of people either say, I want somebody who manages a ton because they think they'll have a lot of experience, or they want somebody who manages very few. What do you look for in how many they manage?
I would start with understanding, am I reaching out to a mom and pop size PM, property manager, right? One of those that aren't a big brand, big name. And it would alter the way I'd interview because they're obviously not a corporate run institution. You can tell the difference sometimes with marketing. The corporate guys are very polished, very formal websites. You don't ever talk to a specific person. It's always whoever's available because they have a whole call center, right? Versus the mom and pop, I might speak to you and you're the owner and property manager managing doors. So how I would approach it is what is your capacity once I'm identifying them as a specific property manager, not an agent / property manager. I mean, they are licensed, but they specialize in management only. I would ask, where are you at and what's your capacity? What's your cap? Because from my experience and knowing property manager friends in that field, there is a limit to how many properties or doors, whatever count they want to use, before they become ineffective as a property manager because it's just overwhelming. What I've been told and I've seen is possible between 200 to 220, 240 is on the high side, but that's how many doors or properties one person should be able to manage in theory. And there's other guys like smaller mom and pops that will cap at 80 to 100 because they don't want the volume. They want quality. They want good properties, good tenants. Others want door count. And how they structure their fees could be different. Some are percentage based, some are flat rate. So flat rate can benefit you on higher rental properties because you're technically paying a lower percentage, or you're paying a premium for the lower rental properties. What I've seen with the flat rate is more driven to incentivize people to come in with higher rent, which means the property is usually in the better part of town.
Yep.
Or better neighborhood versus the multifamily 2, 4, or mixed use units that typically rent on the lower side, where that flat fee is now hovering 12 or 15%, which you can probably average out 10% as the normal range for majority of property managers. And it always depends. That's another question. You want to ask your fee structure. You ask about vacancies. I ask about evictions. How do you handle evictions? How many have you had? Is there areas that you will not manage or asset classes you won't? I brought up duplexes and fourplexes, 2 to 4 doors. I have a team member who will not take anything larger than a 4 unit. And then I have another team member who will not touch Section 8. And then I have another team member who is isolated to this one specific county or town, period. They won't touch anything on the outskirts or anything in the other areas. They only do there. So knowing all these things while you're interviewing them will help make sure they're in alignment to your goal and their goal. But scalability can change with corporate because corporate has a lot more overhead. Corporate has a lot more bodies. Yeah, they might be able to handle 240 doors per team or more because there's the property manager who does the properties. There's the tenant screener who does the tenant screeners. There's the maintenance, if not, calls for repairs, work orders, they'll handle that. And then you'll have your eviction specialist. Like they have this whole collective team, which is nice, but you never developed a relationship. So I have positive experience and negative experience with corporate. I have positive and negative with mom and pop. Simplest way I like to put it, mom and pop typically caps my ability to scale quickly because they oftentimes can't keep up. Corporate can handle that easier. Mom and pop develop relationships, have a lot faster communication and getting things resolved. Corporate, more process driven where you're filling out forms online. There's no real person to talk to. It's an AI bot now. It used to be a virtual assistant in another country, but now it's an AI bot answering my question. Like, I need to speak to a human. And you just lose that human touch with the team members. There's trade-offs on both ends. And really asking questions that's better going to serve you. On your first property, both can get you there. Who do you jive with better? Who do you feel is the best fit for that property? And who do you think is giving you the most realistic, honest take on the asset that you're under contract on?
I think that's great. Man, it is all AI bots now. It used to be the person that you couldn't understand that well. And now it's like, you can understand them fine. You just can't get any answer out of them.
Yeah.
But that's how it rolls. So, okay, property management, we've got them together. I actually want to go back in the closing process. We missed a title company. So I know you're closing with a real estate agent. That usually makes it very easy at the title company. Have you ever run into anything because you're closing from out of state?
Yep. Let's just say not all title companies are the same, just like with pretty much any team member you're going to work with. And you won't know the quality of work until you've worked with several before and done multiple transactions. There are a wide array of title companies that operate different. And one of the biggest hurdles I've seen is they don't understand time zone, one. right? So when I was in Hawaii closing deals in the Midwest, that's 5 hour difference. They would try to call me at 2 a.m. to schedule a notary, and I'd miss it. And then by the time I get up and do this, it's late afternoon. They don't respond to my call, and then it's like, how am I going to close? Like, there's that. The other aspect is funds, transferring of funds out of state, different banks not being aware and how to catch it. Title companies are an insurance policy as well to ensure you're buying a free and clear or
Free
no
clear title. Yeah.
free and clear title, no liens or judgments on it, and that verifies it's real property in itself. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more to it that I could probably spend over an hour talking about. Not all title companies are the same. The fact that you're out of state sometimes makes it challenging because they don't have local branches you can go into. You have to do everything remotely.
So that's, I mean, this is actually something some of the people I talk to don't understand, like why you would want, how, like why you would need, like they're like, why wouldn't I just use the title company that the real estate agent would use? I think setting it up. Do you have any interview questions that you take title companies through, or do you just wait till you do deals with them and earmark the good ones?
Yeah, we do have suggested title company questions, and at the end of the day, it's one of those, like, you are almost at the mercy to what's available that will handle the transaction in the market you're in. Agents are the easiest way to get reference to it. Sellers sometimes prefer theirs. Me as an ongoing buyer, I'm always pushing for my title company because I have good history and rapport. They understand how I operate. They know I'm out of state. They understand my time zones. They have all my documentation. So that's where it really depends. If you're a multi-transactional person a year on transactions, you're likely going to find your preferred title person. If you're only doing one, I would lean more towards an agent or what the seller's requested, and just make sure you verify everything.
Yeah, I think that's probably good. Once you start going, you will learn what makes a good title company, and you'll definitely have a preference in your area.
Absolutely.
That was the thing I had to figure out. Like, I had no idea when I started, and then 2 years in, I was like, oh my goodness. Like, we went back to the first place, and I really didn't want to use them. The real estate agent I was using had a deal with them, so he's like, can we please use them? I 20 years ago, and I still roll my eyes about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we found a real estate agent. We found a property. We bought the property. We went through title. We went through stuff with the closing agent. We set up a property manager. We found a good tenant, we hope. What's left? We just sit back and we bring in rents? Is there anyone else that we need to find on the team? How do we scale this?
I mean, that in a nutshell, there might be some other pieces tied to this that are important, but not enough to cover on this short time we have remaining. You will likely want to ensure you are now capable of maintaining that asset, meaning you're managing your team well, simultaneously going back into doing it again. And oftentimes after that first deal or first handful of deals, for us, it was 6, we ran out of money. So how do you continue scaling after you've burned through all your savings or capital that you've allocated for investing? And that's the tricky part, where if you really don't have support, don't have community, don't have somebody who's gone before you, you may think, that's it, I'm done, I just got to wait. Getting back into the game after that first transaction, the faster you do it, the higher the probability of you keeping your momentum. Because now you're running with more confidence. Now you know what you like about a deal, and now you know what you don't like about a deal. The real question is, can you repeat it and then beat it? Meaning, don't settle for the same result. Look to improve somewhere in the transaction to increase the deal's quality.
That's good. I like that. The keeping your momentum going from deal to deal. There's a couple things that you touched on in there. One being, we didn't talk about banks, local area credit unions. Where do you find funding? So a lot of people are investing from Hawaii in the Midwest. We'll pick Kansas City. We can say Iowa. How do you, what do you tell them to look for in banks? This is a question I get all the time.
Yeah. I always throw it back on them. What kind of loan product are you looking to use? majority of new investors starting are going to come with that 20 to 25% down and use a traditional standard fixed 30-year mortgage, investor mortgage. And those are given locally. Those have nationwide lenders you can reach out to. There's a whole wide array of lenders you can reach out to that can give you that loan product. But you need to know what you have, right? It's like with an agent. If you don't show up with a buy box, they're not going to quite know what to send your way or how to help you get that first deal. With a lender, if you don't know what you qualify for or have, not qualify for, if you don't know what you have to put towards as a down, it's going to be really hard for them to offer you some clear, concise suggestions around what loan products will best fit you. And that changes because there are other loan products out there. I won't go into the weeds of all the variations we work in our community, but an offset to a traditional 30-year fix might be more of a debt service coverage ratio loan product where it's less heavy driven on your personal financial situation, more driven on the asset's performance because it's taking the debt service coverage and making sure it fits in their ratio. That's an alternative product to the traditional that takes more of a W-2 approach, your income, your active income, and your debt to income ratio, your DTI, to qualify you, right? So it varies. I hate to give this answer, and those that know me or are in the space know I give a depends a lot because it really does. It depends. And then your questions are, do you work with investors who are out of state? Do you work with people that are not local? There's a lot of local banks that won't work with me. So what do? I got to keep calling. The good thing is there's a lot of lenders in all markets. Are you willing to put in the work to go and find the one? Or are you going to find a community who is already put in the work and just leverage what's already built? That's always the fast track to getting that initial result.
On that, I will point to the QR code that's right up here. If you're interested in what working with us looks like, you can scan that code. You can book a link with us. Jasmine, put the link in up above. We might put it in again. She looks like she's typing over there. If you want to book a call with me, it's a 30-minute call. I'll walk you through kind of what we do and how we do it. There's no pressure on the call at all. It's just us getting to know you. I think the way that I want to wrap this up, like the last piece is, you touched on people start to, like, they'll get 4, 6, maybe 8 properties, and then they hit a wall. Either the banks won't continue to lend to them or they're out of capital. How do we keep going past that wall? I mean, you guys went from 1 house to 2 houses to 14 houses to 1 million houses.
It just kept growing. Yeah.
Right.
Snowball. Yeah. Yeah. There's 2 parts. First, I want to cover continuing quicker with momentum because I know that's part of our story. We bought our first one. We sat on it for a year. It was the best and the worst decision we ever made. The best was to confirm we knew what we're doing because we had no community guidance or support. We were just trusting a referral. And we took massive action. The worst part was we lost momentum. I mean, a year is a lifetime in real estate. So many things have changed. So many rules and regulations, rents and property values. All of these variables are now different in a whole year span that if I knew what I knew today, I would have done as many deals and got as close to, I like to use a soft mark for new investors. Get your first and then get to 10. I would have tried to get to 10 in my first year. That would have been my goal. And I didn't. So that's why I encourage momentum is do it, stabilize it, make sure you can manage the team and repeat it and try to beat it each and every single time. Now, at some point, we ran out of funds. For us, with 6 deals. We ran out of funds. We also ran out of qualification for traditional mortgages, and we didn't have access to some of the creative lenders that we have now in our Rolodex of network because we didn't know what we didn't know. And there's a lot of loan products that have altered and changed over the last 5 to 6 years that has created more opportunity for investors to get in with less capital or different solutions to funding that deal. Our biggest teaching in our space is how to leverage private money, other people's money. That's essentially what removes the cap off of your ability to scale your portfolio from what you can afford to how can you create these opportunities with others who don't want to do real estate actively like we are, but want to be a part of it and receive some sort of passive income.
So the conversation around raising capital. I was talking about this with somebody yesterday. I just want to get your take on this because the person that I was talking to had a violent reaction, and she said, "I'm never going to beg for money." I said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "You're asking people to invest in a deal that helps you and helps them." You hear this all the time when we have the PML conversation with people. Like, how do you get people to? You're smiling because you know where this is going. Like, how do you start to get people? Because here's the thing that I told the lady yesterday. The people that really do well in real estate use other people's money all the time. CJ, Jasmine, you guys raise money all the time for your deals.
All the time. Still raising.
Yeah, you're putting your own money in and you're putting in other people's money. It's called OPM. What, like, the number one rule of investing from Warren Buffett is like, protect your money, make sure you don't lose your money. See rule number one, right? But really what he talks about is make sure you don't have a downside. If you're bringing in other people's money, you're protecting your money. You're putting them in a deal with you that they want to be in. You're giving them a better rate of return they would make otherwise. And it allows you to scale into more properties. How do you start to have the private money conversation? Like, this is something we train in our community. How do you get people to start raising capital?
First, breaking that limiting belief that you're asking for money. See, I truly believe we're unique and different in our approach of teaching it. There's a lot of teachings out there on how to raise capital, and it doesn't make them wrong. You can raise capital by literally going, Steve, can I have $100,000 to invest in real estate? You could do that. And I like to teach what I know worked for me. And its repeated success throughout the community is its own testament. And if you don't believe me, book a call with Steve and he'll have a conversation, show you some testimonies. My philosophy and thinking behind this is I'm here to serve and present opportunity that isn't openly presented to people. And I suggest starting with people I know because I already have the know, like, trust factor. So that's family, that's friends, that's close confidants and coworkers. It's people in my inner spheres that I can royally mess up and they'd still tell me what they thought, right? Family is the starting point. They will be gut level honest. My dad disowned me, right? For bringing up this opportunity to him. He disowned me for a season because he thought I was a scam. I'm going to lose money, give a bad name, blah, blah, blah. All the negative things that one can think of, he said I could. But that was his feedback. He didn't see value in the opportunity. So what can I control to present opportunity in a different manner that would land better for somebody like him? And that usually starts with getting to know people and what they want. So what they want or what's their current pain. If I were to just keep it simple for this call, isolating to what somebody wants or what their pain is, and how do I present an opportunity or a solution to solve that in exchange for an investment in me. The irony in this is if you're against raising private money, you should never take a loan out in your name because that's not your money either. It is so interesting to see the light bulb moment hit when people get that. Like, you have a loan for your car, you use credit cards, you buy your house. Those are all other people's money. You couldn't afford it, so you had to borrow against it. You were presented an opportunity. They presented you an opportunity with terms and rates that work for you, and you said yes. They said yes. When I present opportunity, I'm not asking. I'm offering, giving them the opportunity to say yes, no, or maybe. I'm looking for one of those three responses. A yes, I'm ready to go. A no, okay, why not? And a maybe, cool, when can I follow up with you? It's so relationship driven. That's the difference in how we teach. It is not about how much I can make you. Because what if it's not about the money? What if it's one of my uncles believing in me and wanting to help me get started in something I didn't think was possible and said, look, here's how I can help you. Go do it. Pay me back. That's happened before in our community. Others are driven by money. Others are driven from not working second or third jobs, which is very common in Hawaii. So is it possible that somebody has resources, i.e. capital, that's sitting idle, but is hustling that second, third job that really wants that weekend back? Could I create an opportunity for the amount they have to put towards real estate and then give them what they're currently making? That's a skill set. And there's no way I can teach that on a call like this. We spend days going through this in person at our next events in Vegas.
Speaking of Vegas, I know we have some people on here from all over the United States. If you want to come join us in Vegas, send me a message, put Vegas in the chat. We'll get in touch with you. We have a few spots left in the room that's coming up on the 22nd and 23rd in Las Vegas. If you want to join us, we're welcome. We'd love to have you there. Drop us a line. We'll get you a ticket. I do want to touch on capital raising because it is offering them an opportunity, and you don't know what it is until you talk to the person. But I will tell you, most of the time when I've had the conversation, it's with people who have said, I want to invest in real estate, but I don't really know how to do it. And I say, okay, well, I invest in real estate. Would you like me to send you the next couple deals that I'm doing? We can talk about them. That usually leads to a coffee conversation, which usually leads to what are you making right now on your retirement account?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm making 5%. Would you like to make 8%? Maybe we can make that happen. Like having those conversations, and CJ, I think you touched on it. The main thing is you're offering them an opportunity. You're not asking them for money.
Exactly.
And
that's the biggest difference in what we do and teach.
When you get that between your ears, the whole world changes.
Yeah. And to add to that, Steve, because this is such a powerful topic, like it really gets me excited, as you can tell. Like I'm just like, this is my favorite stuff, because you can change that person's life, right? When you serve them, that you can change that person's life. I've seen it happen so many times. We have so many testimonies in our community of that auntie that didn't realize how much that extra interest that they weren't making because it was sitting in a checking account making nothing, allowed that auntie to go on an extra trip to go see their grandkids. Like even just these simple things. And it really is an opportunity where they get to say yes or no, or maybe, and you get to respect them where they're at. This isn't a hard sell, because if they don't see the opportunity, cool, what can I do differently to present it clearer? But in the meantime, they're not the driving force on whether or not I can do my next deal. The power lies in myself to go and continue creating. Because I know if I present enough opportunity, just like making offers on enough deals, something will stick and I'll find a problem or want that I can provide a positive solution for this exchange.
That's it. That is it. I'm glad, like I love talking about raising capital because the very first raise that I did, I wanted to buy an apartment building. I was in college. I went to my college professors with a really crappy flyer that I printed up in the computer lab. And like I took a picture, I put it on a piece of paper that I typed out. I put the whole thing in the printer because I couldn't figure out how to make Word work back then. Jasmine's probably cringing at that. I had no idea what I was doing, but it worked. I had misspellings in it. To your point, it was people that wanted to believe in me. I had a college professor write a check for, I think it was $30,000 because he believed in what I was doing. And he was like, I want to support you. And it was backed by real estate. Like you never know unless you give them the opportunity. And if you think that it's hard, think about somebody that you invested in at some point. I bet there's some time that you invested in somebody. It might not have been for $30,000. It might have been for $500, but you did it and it made you feel good. And you got something in return for it. Like when you switch your mindset around, and it really takes, CJ, maybe you have thoughts on this. In my opinion, it took asking and having the conversation a couple times to realize that people didn't like. At first, I was like, people are going to hate me. People are going to tell me to get lost. People are going to tell me this is horrible. Luckily, I didn't have any of those. I've never have. I've had a couple people say no. Most people say maybe. And I've had a couple people say yes right away. Most people say maybe, and then you follow up and you have the conversation.
Yeah. It really is a numbers game.
Yeah. Julie, I want to give you a shout out. Julie said she booked a call with me. I see you on my calendar for Tuesday the 18th. Looking forward to chatting. If you have any questions, just bring them to the call. Happy to talk with you. We'll see you there. Guys, if anything on this call has caught your attention, if you want to learn about capital raising, if you want to learn about your first steps, how you get started, scan this QR code that's up here. There's a link in the chat you can click on. You can grab a time on my calendar. I'd be happy to talk with you. CJ, anything else to say before we wrap this up?
No, I hope it was valuable for you all who are watching.
Awesome. Guys, it was a pleasure spending time with you. CJ, Jasmine, I'm glad you are safe. We'll see you back here 2 weeks. We're actually going to be in Vegas.
It'll be the week after.
I was going to say it'll be 3 days after Vegas, right? 3 or 4? Okay. Yeah. So if you want to come to Vegas, reach out to us. We have a couple tickets left. We'll sneak you in the back of the room. We'll cram some chairs in for you. We'd love to see you there. Until next time, guys, have a great night. CJ, Jasmine, stay safe. See you guys soon.